Hello, hello. What's up, guys? Do you guys hear us? Do you
Hello,
see us?
hello.
Hello. Oh, we're on YouTube too.
Oh,
I was
hey.
trying to get Restream to work with YouTube for a while, but it wasn't working.
Huh. I've never tried Restream.
Ah, I see Zemex in there. Sub Zemex. Can you guys hear us? Okay. Is it me you're looking for?
Hi, Eddie.
Guys, we're really sorry. This is all my fault. Like we were having some major technical difficulties.
Yeah, he's in the
All
chat.
my fault. My les was on time. She's not to blame for any of that. So my apologies. But yeah,
Thanks for your patience, everyone.
yeah, for real. But I see a lot of people are on the West Coast, so for them it's like still early. Here on the East Coast, it's 10:51. So we know it wasn't Moles's fault. Thank you for that. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. Um, so yeah, I mean, listen, guys, this is very different from what we usually do on the Fight Club Twitch. So first of all, I just want to like give you major props, Moles. Big ups for real for doing this because I hit up a few people. I'm not gonna mention any names. A few people,
Yeah,
and I was very like meticulous with who I hit up. You know, I was very strategic. I said, all right, let me only reach out to people that are being very vocal about this topic on social
yeah,
media. So you were obviously one of them, and then I saw two other people that even protested, and I was like, oh wow, okay, maybe they'll be interested in hopping on. And
yeah.
then I reached out, and it was just like radio silence. I was like, okay, so props to you for doing this. And one, like I'm not even gonna bring gender into it, but the fact that you are a female though, and you're so outspoken on social media, like I grew up around six women, right, and they were all very strong, independent women in my household. So
Yeah.
like all I know is like being around strong females that are very strongly opinionated. So like when I see the things that you write, I'm always like, wow, I feel like this is someone that I totally understand. But it do you feel sometimes like I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this a lot of the times where I'm like, should I write that? Like, how are certain fans gonna feel about this? Because there was one time where we got a cease and desist letter from Donald Trump. We even went as far as to make a song called Donald Trump,
Yeah.
and it got to his camp, and we got a cease and desist. And after that, like there was just a major backlash from our fan base. They're like, "Oh, why are you guys getting political? Like, why do you guys talk about these? Like, why are you attacking Trump? Blah blah blah." So
Yeah.
then after that, we kind of had to like reconsider and reevaluate our stance on like what we should do as artists and how much we should speak politically as. I don't know how you feel about that, but uh,
I hear that all the time. I get told I need to, separate my political viewpoints with my music and stuff. But the reality of it is like, um, what is happening politically is affecting me personally, and it's more importantly affecting the people that support me the most. So,
right,
you know, I, I, you know, I feel like it's irresponsible to not speak up because, we have to support those that don't have a voice, that don't have the same rights as we do. Like yes, I'm Afro Latina, but I am like, I am an American. I do have certain rights that some of my supporters don't have. And I have a privilege that some of my supporters don't have. So if I can use, my voice and my platform to, shine a light on things that need to change, like why not do it? Especially
right,
if it's going to make their lives better. So I've had a lot of people tell me like you're too political. I've had people call me a bitch. I've had people tell me I'm difficult to work with because I'm so outspoken, that I'm
right,
too angry,
yeah,
and I've gotten to a point where it's like I don't care.
good for you.
If that's their standpoint, I don't really want their support anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel
and
that.
and that that's just like where I'm at right at this point, and especially now, like seeing everything that's going on. I tweeted some things that definitely in anger last night. and I had people DMing me like, "Oh God, like who is it? Why would you say that?" And it's like, cause I'm fucking tired. A lot of us are tired of seeing
Yeah.
this um, continue on for generations, and the people who are capitalizing on Black culture are being completely silent, and um, that's it doesn't bode well with me.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree with that notion for sure. It
Yeah,
feels like the people that should be speaking out aren't,
right.
and that's kind of the problem, Like it's unfortunate, but this has been a topic that for me like has been so prevalent in my life since I was like I want to say 12 or 13 years old, and maybe I'm
Yeah,
dating myself when Amadou Diallo was killed here in the Bronx. He was shot, I think he was shot like 30 something times, and he simply just got shot because he reached for his wallet in his pocket, right? My dude was just walking down the street, and the cops told him to stop. He put his hand in his jacket, and then they just shot him like 30 times, point blank.
yeah,
And then the guy was obviously not armed. We learned that later. When I heard about this as a kid, I was like, oh wow, that was the first time I really learned about this subject. I was like, I became
right.
very interested in it. And
Yeah,
then later we had Sean Bell here in New York, who was also killed outside of a nightclub. He was celebrating his bachelor party. He was shot like 60 times. Don't quote me on that, but it was about there, and it just kept going on, and it's still happening. And now,
yeah,
the funny thing about this situation is the Eric Garner thing, right? That happened not too long ago in New York City, and
right,
what's happening now is exactly the same situation.
right.
Like they're not even that much different from each other. Like it's
No,
almost verbatim the same exact fucking story, and I think that's what's really bothering people. It's what's really bothering me is that like it's guys, how many times does the same thing have to happen? You
right.
know, like
And
for us to,
this is something that's been happening for generations well before our own. You know, obviously we went from you know um, a nation built on slavery, um, and even when they emancipated slavery, it still was the Jim Crow laws and everything like that.
yeah,
And now it's like the prison complex and everything like that. So um, this whole system they've created kind of ties into it. It's almost like calculated algebraic things, like you know, we all saw. I think what's really happening now is like beforehand, not everyone had a camera in their back pocket. Not everyone could stream live and report things like as it's happening, and now everyone can. So we can't deny it when it's happening in real time. But the whole a cop killing a innocent black man has been going on for generations, and like I think black I know black people have been outspoken about it for centuries. Some in more serious ways, like even like you look at Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle,
yeah,
they've like cracked jokes about it.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
the whole sprinkle a little crack on them.
Yeah,
Certain terminologies that they've used to make black people seem less than.
yeah,
And I think people are seeing they're seeing one thing through video, and they're hearing these cops, these politicians, say another, and they're seeing the disconnect. And I think they're really starting to get it now.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
I think what's been really powerful for me to see is to see the number of people outside of the black race, speak out. So you have Latinos, you have Asians, you have Native Americans, you have white people all coming together, and I think that's why you see these cops like they don't even know how to handle like what happened in the city last night where the cops left town, because the reality of it is like when we all work together and we band together and we put our foot down and we say enough is enough, they do not have the power to stop that energy.
No,
When it's
they're literally like physically outnumbered, like
right,
statistically. What?
right,
So there's that too. You
right.
know.
So I think that's the big difference now. Whereas before, it felt like a black struggle only.
Right. Right.
You would say Black Lives Matter, and the immediate response was no, all lives matter.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and you're seeing a lot less of that now,
Yeah.
and that I think has been a big difference this time around. Um, and we need allies. I speak to a lot of my friends, and we're exhausted. This has been going on, way before we came into this world.
But
And
yeah. Totally.
I remember as a kid having conversations with my dad. If you get stopped by the cops, like, put your hands up. If you're in the car, put your hands on the steering wheel. Don't make any sudden movements. Let them know what you're going to do before you do it.
Yeah.
As a kid, having these conversations, and like, we lived in the South for a while, like in Florida, and like going through states like Georgia, and seeing instances where my dad gets pulled over just for being a black man in a nice car,
Yeah.
not committing any crime, stuff like that. Like, it's we're exhausted. So
I also
seeing
think,
a lot of that.
to add to what you're saying though, also like the amalgamation of like what's happening with COVID, on top of this, on top
Yeah.
of people being unemployed, on top of
Totally.
people suffering from depression, anxiety, like you sum up all those parts, and then you get what's happening right now, and that's like
Right.
a complete chaotic eruption. It's just
Right. Totally.
everything is
Yeah,
just
it's
coming together now.
It's kind of surreal because it's multifaceted. It's kind of, you feel like you're being attacked from all angles. Like, we have how things were handled with COVID is a complete disaster, but at the same time, you're still seeing black people innocently murdered. ICE is still separating families and children, and putting people in cages, and Asian people are being discriminated against because of COVID. And like every demographic is being targeted, and for one person to say, like, oh, this is only happening to black people or one demographic is very delusional thing to say, because I think we're kind of being bombarded, and I think that's why more than ever we need to band together and
Oh, yeah.
let these politicians and let the police, like, divide us. And it's 150% okay to be angry. It's totally justifiable to be outraged. We should all be outraged. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, but it gets so
now is not the time
complicated.
to divide people.
It gets so complicated. Speaking of division, right? Like, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here, but I have friends that are police officers here in New York, right?
Mhm.
And I try to stay away from these topics, because one of them is like a brother to me. He's very close to
Yeah.
me, but it's interesting for me to see their perspectives too, because they're good cops. I can tell you that right now. Like, they're really good
Yeah.
cops, and they're looking at it from the perspective of, damn, like, these bad cops are ruining it for all of us, because now everyone's gonna be on edge. Everyone's gonna be attacking us, and they look at us as just, we're blue bloods. That's what they call them. Like, it's just, we all bleed blue. Like, we're looked at as a particular group of people, and so I'm looking at it and I'm just like, damn, these people. I know these guys. These have families. They're good people, and yeah, they're being lumped now into this category of like,
Right.
fuck the police, like, y'all are pigs, you're all trash. But the reality is, like, it's a systemic problem that we're facing. Like,
Yeah.
the system is fucked up. It's been
Right.
fucked up for, like you said,
Generations.
generations.
Yeah.
It's a systemic problem, and it's really not fair to just point the blame on one particular side right now. Obviously, the man that committed this atrocity, he needs to he's obviously going to jail. That's a whole nother topic. This guy's only getting third-degree manslaughter. People are
Right.
enraged. He can
Right.
get out on bail for $40,000. It's fucking
Right.
ridiculous.
And,
It's
I think that's part of the problem. Like, when we talk about good cops, bad cops, and everything like that, like, in certain situations, and I always hear the argument, don't let a few bad apples spoil the bunch or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, in certain situations, like, you can't allow those few bad apples to remain. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
Imagine, having a few bad doctors at the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I saw something that Chris Rock said, like, you don't hear American Airlines say, well, a few of our pilots like to land. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And we have to hold, like, cops accountable. Like, if you are a good cop, you need to be reporting and prosecuting these bad cops that are abusing the system, are racist, are murdering innocent people.
Yeah.
And until that happens, you're going to see this hasty generalization.
Yeah.
Because the reality of it is, like, when I get pulled over, like, I honestly don't have time to sit there and assess if this cop is good or bad.
Right.
I have to just do what I can to protect myself and come out of that situation alive. And
100%.
Yeah. It shouldn't be that way. And you look at other departments of social service, like, no one writes songs that say "fuck the firefighters" or "fuck the doctors."
Right.
And that needs to be evaluated. Why is that? Why for generations do we have songs about "fuck the police" and
exactly.
Kendrick Lamar's "All Right" and all these anthems? We need to shut up and listen to these songs and really understand the message that is being driven home by these songs. So
yeah, it's just,
I don't know, that's my 2 cents on that.
No, yeah, totally. I feel
I
that.
like to assume people are good until they prove me otherwise, but when it comes to my personal safety, like, if I get pulled over by a cop, I'm going to be on edge.
Oh no, same.
Come out of that situation.
Same. I mean, I can tell you from experience here in New York, I've been stopped by police for really stupid really stupid scenarios. For example, one time I got stopped because my taillight wasn't working. And then I got pulled over and they're saying, "Have you been drinking?" I wasn't drinking. I said, "No."
Yeah.
"You have any drugs on you?" It's you know what I mean? It's racial profiling. Why? Because I'm a Latino. I was in a white neighborhood. So now all of a sudden, like, you assume these things. And this was during the Bloomberg era. Bloomberg was the mayor at the time. Yeah. He's been condemned for that, for stop and frisk. Stop and frisk.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you firsthand that I subscribe to the same ideology as you. If I see a cop, I'm shitting bricks. Because I don't know what's going to happen based on my experiences. They've never really been good. But I have to say, because of the mayor we have here in New York City, the cops hate him. So now they're doing, like, far less because they feel like, well, this guy's an asshole. He wants us to do all this stuff. We don't want to do it. So we're going to do a shitty job. But by loosening those constraints, it's actually made things better because cops right now are more chiller than ever in New York.
Right.
They're not busting balls.
The way it should be.
Yeah.
You don't see firefighters starting fires to put them out. Cops shouldn't be poking and prodding and instigating situations that lead to this kind of scenario that we've been in for generations. You know what I mean? So it's I'm hoping, no one wants to see, buildings burned down. No one wants to see all of this turmoil, but I'm hoping this brings enough awareness to bring significant change because we need it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's that whole premise of, like, sometimes you have to be in a really toxic situation to realize that you're in a toxic situation and things need to change. And, I think this administration, this racism, all these broken systems on multiple facets, healthcare, education, criminal justice, like, you name it, we are, especially this year in 2020, have a spotlight on how none of these systems are working.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do to change it? And how are we going to move forward? will this get done in this administration? Fuck no. We all know that. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not holding my breath. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. But what can we do as a society to learn from this, to grow from this? Right now you're just seeing anger on full display, and
Sure.
it needs to be on display.
No.
The people have been holding it in for generations. This is hundreds of years of wounds that have not healed and continue to not be healed.
Correct.
And, I've seen videos of people venting, and you could feel the pain in their voice. You can see it in their eyes. They've lost multiple family members, multiple friends, and it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay by any means,
And guys, by the way, in the chat, I see people as we're talking. I see people sharing their stories. Feel free to chime in, guys, if you guys want to ask a question or just say something that we can read and definitely expand on. This is an open dialogue, and dialogue is very healthy. We want healthy discourse. We want people to give their opinion, and you don't always have to agree with what we're saying. We're not the end all be all. We're just having a discussion. So feel free to chime in.
And what Eddie, I just read what Eddie shared. I think every person of color has at least one story.
Yeah.
Where they've been in that situation, and that's a problem. You know? And I'm sorry that happened to you, because it shouldn't have happened. Period.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's like I said, like, we're tired. A lot of people are tired.
Yeah, people are fed up at this point.
People are fed up, and I think a lot of us have been fed up for a while now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think a lot of our allies are now starting to see, and I love seeing people being vocal. We need that. I saw a picture the other day. It was a group of white people standing in front of everyone else. That to me is like understanding your privilege and using it for the benefit of others.
Oh yeah.
And we need that. So to all of our allies out there, shout out to you guys. Like, I'm seeing people ask, like, what can we do?
Yeah, you're seeing more and more of that. I've also saw someone on CNN, ESPN, I'm sorry. I don't recall his name, but he was saying, this is what really inspired me to do this. He said, I don't care if you're an athlete, if you're a musician, if you're anybody that has some sort of, that you're in a public forum and you have some sort of fan base, whether it's large or small, it is your duty to let people know and inform them about what's happening, especially if you're a minority. And that shit spoke to me, man, because I'm like, dude, I'm a minority. Like, I have stories for days about, like, systemic racism and profiling. So I said, you know what? He's right. Sure, I may not have the fan base that some of these bigger artists have, but shit, you and I are having a public, discussion about this. And the 13 people that are in here right now are chiming in and listening. I mean, obviously, we're known for being entertainers, right? People want to be entertained, and they want us to just kind of. I don't want to be mean-spirited and say they want to put us in a box, but essentially that's what happens. People look at us and they're like, "Okay, Marles is a performer, DJ. That's what she is." Sav is a DJ, producer. That's what he is. And then when you start doing these things, the lines get blurred. But it's gotten to the point now where, like, it's very important. And I see more and more DJs coming out and talking about these things. Whereas before, in the past, not one word.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't see them.
There's still a few out there that have been absolutely silent. And I love that they're being called out on it. Because a lot of them have profited off of Black culture.
Yeah.
So they should be on the front lines.
For sure.
Expressing that. And, I'm hoping that, as consumers in a capitalistic society, that moving forward people remember how certain people that they idolize, certain artists, certain athletes, certain politicians, whatever, just take note of how even certain brands, like, take note of they have responded, to systemic racism, to the COVID-19 crisis, to you name it. And we take that and moving forward, we're like, oh, I remember so-and-so didn't stand up for the disenfranchised, or I remember that, Amazon cut hazards pay during COVID-19.
Right.
And we make better decisions as a society, and quit giving power to the people who do not serve their community.
Yeah. For sure.
Even when it comes to politicians, I know it's frustrating for a lot of my friends. They feel like their vote is I can't even talk, not significant,
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, like, aside from voting for the president, we have the power to decide our attorney generals for our state, our governors, our mayors, different branches in the courtroom and stuff like that, different judges.
Yeah.
And we need to exercise that power. If I live in a place where it's diverse, and I look at the people who are serving us in the government and it's not diverse, representation matters.
Oh yeah.
And,
even to from the smallest positions in government.
Yes.
In your local,
Right.
like you said, local neighborhoods. That's that voting in the right people, representatives, even in local government, is so important. That's something I learned recently. I was like, wow, like they're building a Target around where I live, and this
Yeah.
is it's a pretty low income neighborhood, right? And mostly made up of immigrants. I lived here my whole life, and
Yeah.
now they're building a Target, and a lot of the smaller businesses in the area are probably going to get wiped out and
Right.
taken over by Chipotle. I mean, I already seen a Chipotle in the corner store being built, and it's sad. It's very sad to see that, but local government is very vital when it comes to making those decisions, and we didn't
Right.
have a strong enough local government representing us to
Yeah.
say, hey, we don't want this thing built here,
Right.
and
Yeah. And
That's the
the power
problem.
that we can exercise that we're not exercising. So it seems daunting right now, especially because, like, I think election is like, what, 5? I don't even know how many months away.
it's in November, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it feels like, oh my God, are we even gonna make it there at this point? With everything that's been going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But I cannot stress it enough. It is so important for us to vote for people that represent us, and
For sure.
are not representing racist ideologies, are not representing corporations that don't give a fuck about us, and we have to come out in full force, because a lot of these organizations and corporations that want to see this stuff continue, they're putting a lot of money into politics right now to keep us under.
Yeah.
So, I know it's like disheartening and hopeless, but when we do get to November, and like wherever you are, like look up the dates to register to vote and stuff, because it's really important. And also, like, if you do have the opportunity to vote for those who can't.
Yeah.
Vote for those essential workers and farmers out there that can't vote, and people who are disenfranchised, like in Florida, like I think they just reinstated the right to vote for people who have served time.
Oh wow.
And, we clearly live in a society where people can be arrested and serve time even though they're completely innocent.
Yeah,
We see
it
that
happens
right
all
now.
the time. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the things, like, moving forward for me. It's like, look at your implicit biases that you have, because this is conditioned in our society.
Yeah. Agreed.
Trump tweeting that we're thugs is nothing new. It's nothing new.
Trump issuing orders to shoot on sight. That to me was like, whoa, like
Totally.
are we like, is
And
this reality now? Like, what is going on?
I'm grateful finally putting their foot
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
To me, it's like you could have done this like years ago, you know, because I'm sure he's violated the terms and conditions multiple times. I know he has, you know.
Yeah.
But
I've seen it.
I'm glad that they're finally putting their foot down because it removes a lot of his power that he has. And you saw him flipping out about it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
He tried tweeting from the White House account, and you know.
And then that got
like
blocked.
That.
I saw that got blocked too.
Yeah. So like, you know, we need more of that. We need more people speaking out, putting their foot down, not allowing this bullshit to continue, because it's intolerable. It's 2020. You know, like we should be way ahead of this. You know.
Yep.
I do understand. It's like the pendulum swinging. Like, you know, people thought the racist people thought it was a complete desecration of our society to allow a black man to be elected. So
yeah.
The pendulum swinging back, and we're seeing the reaction to that.
For sure.
100%. We have got to step up and let people know that this is not okay.
Yeah.
And we cannot be complicit right now. And that's why it's so important to be vocal and to speak out and, you know.
And to touch on something you said earlier, I had this conversation with my mother today. I said, my mom is Afro-Colombian, right? My grandfather looked like Morgan Freeman, just so you guys can get a perspective. And it's funny because it's ingrained even in someone like my mother and my uncles who are dark-skinned, right? Mm-hmm. To be racist towards darker-skinned people. And I'm just like, you guys realize that that's part of the problem in our society, because you're conditioned to think that just because you're lighter skin, you're not as dark, your complexion's not as dark as somebody else, that they're inferior. That's something that was ingrained in them since childhood. Right. And that's also a problem, because everybody right now needs to band together, like you said earlier. Yeah. All Latinos, because we all come from the same place, honestly. You know, whether or not you want to believe that or subscribe to that, it's entirely up to you. But we all come from Africa, especially in Latin, it's South America, for the most part. But people just, I have these conversations with like my mother, and I'm explaining this to her, and I'm explaining to her colonialism and all these things, and she's just like, yeah, I don't know why you're telling me this. Like, I'm gonna believe what I want to believe, and I'm like, okay, Mom, like, she's not racist. I'm not saying that Mom was racist. It's just that
it's part of the like you said, the colonialism that's been ingrained.
Right.
It's become a part of the culture.
Right.
I think our generation and younger, we are the ones kind of paving the way to change all that.
Definitely.
You know, even things like the 23andMe. You know, I've seen a lot of Latinos take that test, and they're like, I am African?
Yeah, they can't even believe that.
They can't even, you know, but like just that realization.
Yeah.
Like you can't even, you're denying a part of yourself now.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, there's a lot of, you know, broken systems in our culture, you know, where even black people don't love the skin that they're in. You know? Not all of them, obviously. You know, a lot of my friends are strong, they're proud, they're beautiful people, and they're not afraid to show they're unapologetically themselves, and we need more of that. But you know, this is like, it's part of the broken system. This is like, you know, like seeing the lynching and the murdering is like the tip of the iceberg, but like all of this colonialism and the broken systems, and you know, defunding education, and you know, the school to prison pipeline and all that stuff is like kind of like below the surface, but it all like feeds into the broken systems that make racism worse.
Sure, and no, you're right. It does stem from education too, like lack of education. Because if these people were informed and educated, they would understand where they come from, and they wouldn't feel this way. But because there's a lack of knowledge, they don't understand. They just feel a certain way.
Knowledge, you know, for several reasons, like, you know, we have completely whitewashed history.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Know?
Yeah.
And then a lot of our history, either as Black people or Latinos Latinos or Afro Latinos or whatever, Caribbean people, a lot of our history has been completely erased.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't even allowed to acknowledge that side of ourselves. So I think a lot of people are rediscovering that, that is their identity. It's in their DNA. It's in their blood. You know, and I think the more we talk about it and, you know, just be vocal about it and be allies to one another, the more you'll see that change. You know, like I said, in our generation and younger, I don't really see that being a problem. As far as like Latinos denying their blackness.
No, I see progression in the, especially in the younger generation. I see it. I see more of a sense of unity and solidarity in that generation.
Yeah. And what Delirious Daniel said is really important to call out the people closest to you. Absolutely.
Sure.
That's absolutely really important. You know, and you know, because it really, I think people really stop and think when it's someone really close to them, and
for sure
reassess their ideologies and their viewpoints. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. What did Eric Diplo say?
When I meet people who want to be close to me, one, who'd you vote for in 2016? Two, why did you leave quarantine in 2020?
Those are good questions.
I got into it today with my superintendent because he's very, very intelligent man, very vocal about these topics, and we were talking about voting, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "So are you gonna vote in the upcoming elections?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm just not really a fan of Biden, and I don't really gel with his ideologies." And he's like, "But you know, I agree, but he's the lesser of two evils. You know that, right?" And I'm like, yeah, I do agree, but I'm just saying, like, I just wish we had a better candidate on the ballot.
Right.
And he was just like,
Right.
But it's your duty to still, we got to get this guy out of office. We have to get him out. And I'm like, I understand that. I'm just expressing that I wish we had, and I really do believe that, I really wish Bernie was up there. You know, not to sound super liberal right now, but I mean, I'm just not a fan of Biden, you know.
Bernie is the president we need, but we don't deserve.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know, yeah, this is twice now that, you know, we're going to hit the voting booth and be like, meh. Like,
exactly.
I felt like such a,
yeah.
like, you know, I knew it was important to vote and unfortunately vote for Hillary. You know, she was definitely not my choice. But I knew how dangerous it was to let someone like Trump get into office. And when he got elected, I flipped the fuck out. I was like, I'm moving to Panama. I'm done with this shit. Like, I'm out. And I had so many people like, you're overreacting. It's not that bad. It can't be that bad. And now I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty bad, like, guys.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Pretty bad. It's safe to say at this point.
Yeah.
I like this. It says here, where's the question? Cyrus says, it's not that I don't want to vote. I just don't see why I should put in the time if all my choices suck, which is the same conversation I had with my superintendent.
Basically. But, like, you know, we're not just voting for the president. We're voting for so much more than that. And, you know, yes, our choices are shit when it comes to that, but, like, you know, like, you have the opportunity to change some things, maybe locally, maybe in your state, you know, have representation where you don't have it before.
Yeah.
So maybe focus on that, like, focus on, you know, more state, local levels, instead of federally. I think this whole experience with COVID-19 especially has shown that we don't necessarily have to rely on federal guidance or jurisdiction to get by. Like, you saw a lot of states
were governing themselves.
They were
pretty
governing
much,
themselves because they saw how incompetent our president. I don't even like calling him our president because he's not my president. But how incompetent the Orange Klansman was. I like to call him that. I think that's more accurate. And you have better power and control of voting, like who who is in control of those offices. So use it as an opportunity to vote for those things, you know?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, local
yeah,
government is
just
very
kind of grit
important.
the teeth and like, fine, we'll do it, you know, because
So
there's it sucks, but it's still better than what we have right now.
there's a question here. How do you all practice self-care during this chaos when even home is the office? That's a good question, actually.
That's a really good question. I would say one of the big things is for me, especially because I'm a Pisces. I'm an emotional person. So like when I feel sad, giving myself the space to cry. When I am angry, giving myself the space to vent. Whatever emotion I'm feeling, because it is not healthy to keep that all inside. And I do acknowledge that there are a lot of people who don't have that privilege or access to do it. But if you can find a way, I think it's super, super vital. I've had, like last night, I bawled my eyes out. I pretty much had like a panic attack. And after I let it out, I was able to like gather myself and like talk to my family and, and talk to Ivor and feel like much better about it. So
Shit, I need to take a page out of your book because it's so hard. Maybe it's a guy thing. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a Taurus thing, but it's so hard for me to like just release like all the emotions I have. I bottle them in, and I hate that.
Right.
I hate that about myself.
And that, I feel when you bottle up your emotions, it manifests in other ways. Like it comes out in other ways. It's
Definitely
either through anger or I have held emotion in to the point where I have physically gotten sick, that's not healthy. It's not. You shouldn't be driving yourself to a point of sickness, physical. Sickness.
No, yeah, it affects all aspects of your body.
Your body
anything
will
emotional.
Find a way to release it.
Definitely.
So, it's really unfortunate that men are raised to think that it's not manly or it's not right to express emotions, because we are all emotional beings. We all feel emotions.
I think guys are like high key more emotional than women, to be honest. I know so many guys that are so emotional, whereas women need to be stronger because that's I guess a maternal instinct where they need to be strong for, their children, or just I don't know. I feel like women are stronger. They have a higher EQ than men do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
From what I've seen in my life.
Yeah. I think part of it of that is not having the freedom to explore the emotions and process them.
Yeah.
So the sooner we provide a safe space for men to do that, I think the better we'll be as a society. We wouldn't have someone signing executive orders because they got fact checked on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, to me, it's a given. So I think it's really important.
Delirious Daniel wrote, I fucking hate, quote unquote, vote blue no matter what, because it really erases the struggles that minorities deal with. It's such an oversight for people where politics doesn't really affect them, but they just want Trump out. Oh.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
That we're hearing that a lot. To me, it's like, I think with many broken systems that we have, this two-party system doesn't serve us at all. It really doesn't. I was talking to these two guys we met on the metro, and they're from Germany, and we were on the metro, and they were talking about how Germany has multiple political parties, and basically a few of them band together to support one candidate, basically push that candidate for election.
Right.
And I think that's far healthier than our approach, because it's like we are such a diverse country. You go to New York, it's different than Washington, it's different than Kansas, it's different than Florida.
Yeah, I almost feel like America is, like, if we were to draw an analogy, like, feels like almost like Europe, in the sense that, like, our states feel more like countries. Because in Europe, you can just drive somewhere to another country from, like, I don't know, Netherlands to Germany in an hour, That's like the
Yeah.
equivalent of in distance, like driving from here to, you know, Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, whatever. And
Right.
it feels different. It does feel like a different place, like a different country.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very true.
And I think that's like it's a blessing and a curse, um, because you know, um, like we've seen it on display during the COVID-19 crisis. You have thousands of people in New York City dying, and
Yeah.
someone in Kansas is like, I can't relate. Why am I cooped up in my house? You know?
Yes. 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 That's a
So
problem.
it's a huge problem, you know, and you know, we always like I don't know if you ever watched like Schoolhouse Rock, like growing up and stuff. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
He always talks about the U.S. being a melting pot and how that's a beautiful thing. I think we've lost sight of that.
Sure.
You know, and it's really disheartening in a way.
Yeah.
So, you know, my hope is, you know, do I think we should only have one other candidate than Trump? No. Do I think it is absolutely vital to vote him out of office? Yes, because you have to look at the three branches of government right now. You know, and I'm looking mostly at the Supreme Court. We have Ruth Ginsburg, who is in her, 80s, 90s?
Yeah.
Who is constantly having health problems. And who, like, this election is so vital because I don't think she can, you know, sustain that position for much longer.
Yeah,
And
probably not. Yeah.
If Trump gets reelected, that's another GOP filled seat.
Yes.
And it throws everything off balance.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
you know, so it's more than just the president, and I think that's what everyone needs to learn and recognize. Like, we have several branches of government for a reason. It's supposed to be a checks and balance thing,
Which
and
they're not balanced at all right now.
we're not.
That's the
balanced
problem.
At all, and
Yeah.
that's a huge problem.
Sure.
So, you know, people only focus on voting for the president, but we also need to be voting for the Senate.
Absolutely.
You know, for Congress, for all that stuff, like you know, for judges
there's
to be
a-
appointed. Like, look at their record. You have the right to look at their record
Wow.
and see, you know,
There's
and see,
already
like, how they vote.
there's already a 5-4 majority in the Supreme Court. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, it's really
Wow.
important.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's yeah. I think the House is the only thing we've
Yeah. That's why they
have
just
control over
passed.
at this point. And
Yeah.
I see, like, you look at Ocasio-Cortez and, you know, Ilhan and stuff. Like, you see a lot
Oh,
more
yeah.
representation, and they are pissing people off.
Yeah,
But who
they're
are they
always going
representing?
for Cortez. I always see that. They even leaked like nudes of Cortez the other day, and she had to debunk that whole thing. And she was like, "That's not me." Like, I don't know
Right.
why they're trying to do that. Like, it's just crazy, man. Like,
They don't like to see powerful women who speak up.
yeah.
It's a lot of people feel really threatened by it.
And she's Latina too. You know, she's a minority.
Right. So, but my thing is, like, she represents a lot of us. You know, I hope when she's old enough she runs. I really do.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's not far fetched.
Yeah.
You know, we have to
I
see what
vote
she
for
does
her,
in the
I
next
vote.
in the next 10 years. But I mean, it's definitely not
Yeah.
far fetched. Definitely not.
So, you know, please keep in mind when it comes to voting, and you know, we're talking the whole vote blue no matter who thing. I don't necessarily agree with either. I always look at all candidates.
Yeah.
You know, and see what their record stands for. You know, what issues do they support?
Sure.
What issues do they not support? But I'll be honest with you, most of the time I'm leaning more liberal because of the issues that are important to me.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. There have to be issues that affect you on a
Right.
personal level and your community too. Because you got to
Right,
think on a
exactly,
community
yeah.
level too. Because that affects where you live. That affects the people around you, your loved ones if they live in the same community. It's a whole thing. It's not just like you can't look at it selfishly and say this is just affect me. Obviously,
Right.
that's a big part of it. But will it
Right.
affect your family in a few years?
Right. Totally.
You know?
Totally.
All that stuff needs
The
to be.
people in my community, you know, and I think that's really really important to take those issues into consideration. So I, um, like the last time I voted the last election was the first time I ever registered to a party, and it was so I could vote for Bernie in the primaries. But to me, I would rather be independent. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm independent. Like,
Because
I'm
I don't
subscribed to
necessarily
independent.
agree with the ideology, all the ideologies
Correct.
of either party.
Yeah.
And I'm more liberal leaning, of course,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to take that into consideration. Yeah, Daniel, I remember that. I will talk about politics at the bar, like drinking Hennessy, and I'm like, oh no, like I'll go off,
No, I mean I'm down with that too. If it's like I said, a healthy discourse with people that know what they're talking about, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I have these conversations with my best friends, and
Yeah.
it's because they know what they're talking about. So
Right.
we can have a healthy conversation. The worst thing is talking to someone that has no idea what they're talking about, and they're just going off. They're being contrarians for the sake of being contrarians, and I hate that because I'm like,
Me too.
okay, are you just trying to have like a debate with me because you just don't want to agree with me? Like,
Right.
that doesn't make sense. Tell
Well,
me
that's
why.
weird,
Tell
and
me
they wanna
why.
argue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
And that's always frustrating, and it's always frustrating to have conversations with people who are not open-minded to at least listen. I'm not saying you have to change your mind, or I'm not trying to sway your vote or anything like that, but like at least have like a healthy discord about it.
Sure.
And because this is a very diverse country, and no two people are going to think alike.
Exactly. That too. Yeah.
And we need to respect that and honor that amongst one another.
All I know right now is that if Biden, not to get too, because we're going off a little bit on a tangent, but I just want to say this though. I feel like if Biden really wants to figure out a way to really sway the vote in his favor, gun control is a big problem in this country. Healthcare is a big problem. And what's happening right now with the police is a big problem. Those are three big, major issues that are very reoccurring in our society. Tackle those head on, man. Let's
Totally.
figure out how to fix those things.
I don't know what his strategy is right now. It's kind of scary.
He has no strategy right now.
He's been really quiet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Part of it, I'm wondering if he's just like, well, let 45 act up and run his mouth and let the people see for themselves, like, how he handles this whole situation. And he's basically tripping over his own feet at this point,
Basically.
But he really needs to be vocal about what he's going to do to fix all these problems, because just saying like, you shouldn't be tweeting stuff like that at night is not solving the problem.
No. No.
He really needs to be vocal. Another big thing for him is who he decides to pick as vice president. Like someone mentioned, Klobuchar. She's in the hot seat right now because this cop that murdered this black man, this isn't his first time, having these kinds of incidents. He has a record, and she had the opportunity to prosecute him, and she chose not to.
Really?
So these are things that, if Biden picks her, I think she was being vetted. If Biden picks her, she's going to have to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So I think who he picks right now for vice president is going to be like a make or break.
That's what a lot of people are saying. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. Well, this is interesting. All right, there was something. Question: do you all have any go-to documentaries, books, articles to recommend for folks who actually want to learn? Mine is The Color of Law to teach housing discrimination.
I need to read that. What was the one documentary about the Central Park Five? I had heard about it because my family was in New York when that all happened, and I watched it for myself, and I was just so blown away. And it's kind of crazy to see Trump's involvement with that whole situation and what we're going through right now. That's definitely one I would recommend watch because these were innocent children that were.
What's the name of that one?
I'd have to look it up. It's about the Central Park Five.
Let me look it up. I have one. If anybody's interested in an earlier topic that we were talking about, colonization and just like Afro Latinos not knowing their descendancy, where they come from. I just watched this interesting special that John Leguizamo did. It's called Latin History for Morons, and it's really good. He does it in a very entertaining way. He kind of breaks down the history.
Yeah. So the documentary is called When They See Us. Thank you, Andreas. Yeah, that one is a good one to watch. Duvernay, I think, is actually working on a documentary right now about police brutality.
Interesting.
And the broken systems in place, the almost calculated responses that we see to it, that we're seeing right now. Already the thug dialogue came up. They're already trying to plant the idea that he might have been intoxicated.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that. And then he was asthmatic. Yeah. Now they're trying to blame it on that. Like, guys.
Like we all saw. And I think that's been a rude awakening for a lot of people because, before videos and stuff, like we couldn't see things for ourselves and we'd see these reports and be like, oh, well, he had a heart problem and he might have been drunk,
Right.
Now we all saw the video, so we all know the truth. Same thing with the CNN reporter that got arrested.
Yes, I saw that. That was crazy.
He came back later and said that he was non-compliant. He wouldn't get out of the way. We saw the whole thing play out, and we know that's not true.
Right.
So.
Right. And then there's all these other conspiracy theories. Like I saw something about the undercover police officer, who apparently everyone saw, and I saw the video that he was just. I think it was an auto parts store, that he was just looting. And clearly, but then they're debunking that. The right and the left are always like debunking each other's like theories. And they're saying that's not him.
Again and again and again and again.
Yeah. So it's hard to believe. Like, who do you believe? And that's the thing with the media.
I think it's important to listen to the people who are actually there, protesting. You're hearing a lot of reports that these protests have been peaceful.
Let me while we're on this subject, let me actually show you guys. Do you know Velvo Males, the producer? He actually lives in Minneapolis, and he sent me a video. He's like, it would be cool if you show this video during your stream tonight. Check this video out, guys. I'm gonna show it to you real quick here. It's a very short video. Check this out.
The intent of peacefully protesting, and then it's the cops come in and they're the ones with the tear gas, with the rubber bullets.
Yeah.
All of that, and we saw like 2 weeks ago people with semi-automatic weapons protesting for their haircuts or whatever.
I saw that. Yeah.
Nothing happened to them.
No.
Nothing. It is our right. To protest, to speak our minds. We do have freedom of speech. This
Absolutely.
should be something that is exercised. If people are protesting peacefully, why are these cops invading on that right?
Right.
And I think it's because they're being called out, and they don't like it.
No, it's enraging
Yes.
them. Yeah, it's enraging them. And it's that push and pull, method
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, you guys want to come at us, now we're gonna come at you.
The back and forth, the conspiracy theories and all that stuff is created to create division,
Yes.
create scenes of doubt, and distract from the issue that is going on.
Right.
Which is that for far too long, Black people have been murdered, for no reason. And I always hate that whole, well, if you don't like it, don't commit a crime or whatever. You know what I mean? If we have serial killers that can be arrested without a scratch,
Yes, you see it all the time. People
why
that
are
is.
we killing people over an alleged forged check?
It's so mind-boggling, like utterly mind-boggling. That's what I can't wrap my mind around, that concept. It's true. You have people going out doing mass shootings, and they're getting arrested in such a civil manner, such a graceful manner.
Right.
And I have to say that I have to call the race card and pull it, because it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of them are white.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's fundamentally wrong. And
Definitely.
we
And
are
I-
all
you know,
seeing it
it's
now.
on
We're all
display
seeing it. Yes,
right now.
exactly. Because of technology, we all see it now.
Yeah.
And it's just insane. It's so mind-boggling to me. I don't get that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Daniel, what you're saying, if 100 Black people walked into any government office with ARs, definitely would be handled differently.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Would not have played out the same way. Definitely not.
yeah. And you look at even organizations like the NRA, like if a group of Black people started, and you're seeing it now, to be honest, like going out and exercising their Second Amendment, all of a sudden it's a problem.
Yeah.
That's why the Black Panthers were, so intimidating back in, was it the 60s?
The 60s, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows that we don't live in a nation that is equal. And I think that's why you're seeing all these protests and everything, because people have had it.
But Brock Turner raped an unconscious woman, and the judge took pity on him. But if he wrote a bad check, he would have been fucked. Yeah, man,
And these are some
crazy.
of the implicit biases that we see. Just some of the language that they use, like Brock Turner is a swimmer, and all this, like, what with the guy from New England that recently got arrested for being a serial killer. Oh, he was a college senior and he meditated.
Right,
he did
right,
yoga,
right.
But
right.
if it's a Black person, they're a thug. And look, we found this
Yes.
video of them being detained years ago.
Yes.
And
they push that agenda. They keep pushing that racist agenda over and over again.
Right, and I'm seeing now more than ever people calling out the discrepancy. Like when the cop got arrested today, it was for allegedly kneeing George Floyd. It's like, kneeing? What? Like,
yeah, that's murder him. That's not kneeing, guys.
Him. He is a murderer. Yeah. We saw the video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I saw a lot of people speaking out about that, especially white people, and that was I was kind of taken aback by that, to be honest. So keep it up, like I know like some people feel kind of like, I don't know what to do, this isn't my place,
Oh no, yeah, you hear that all the time, and that's what I was touching upon that earlier. And I spoke to Mysterio. He couldn't be here. He's very passionate about this topic. He wanted to be here. He had other commitments, but yeah, I mean, like, if you really feel adamantly about speaking out about it, there's no harm in doing so. Like, you have that right. We are in America. We have that God-given right that we can openly speak about it. But again, in a way that's a healthy discussion, a healthy dialogue.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough.
Absolutely.
You know?
I think, a couple like black people I follow on Twitter, they're not necessarily engaged or being vocal, and they're being criticized for it. And I think that's absolutely wrong. Because they've been vocal about it for years.
Yeah.
And now they're just tired, and they mentally, physically, emotionally just cannot deal with it. And that is their right too.
Sure.
That's not our right to attack them. It's not. It's kind of messed up to tell black people how to react to this whole experience.
Yeah.
Because it is a privilege to not live in that realm.
Sure. They're like you said, they're emotionally drained, man. They've been dealing with this since they were born.
Yeah, I posted a couple days ago when this was all, happening. I was like, check in on your friends, on your friends of color, because we're not okay.
Yeah.
This is exhausting to see time and time and time and time again, to a point where it becomes normalized and we can't even like keep track of who's who and where did this happen and where did Freddie Gray come from and Trayvon Martin, and it's overwhelming. And to see some of my friends just completely shut down because they've had enough is completely understandable, and we need to respect that.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. That's actually a really good point. That's actually a really good point.
Just, respect that, and if you reach out to a black friend and ask them, like, what can I do, and they don't know what to say, or they don't respond, or they're angry, just remember not to take it personally, that they're trying to process a lot right now. That shouldn't stop you from trying to make a difference and trying to be an ally. You should definitely be an ally, because it's I think it's getting to a point now where it's like make or break. Like, if we don't fix this now, is it ever going to be fixed? Like,
yeah, that's the question I was asking myself earlier, and yeah, I mean, it's such a deep question. Like, you go down that rabbit hole, and you really start to like almost like lose faith, because you feel like, I've seen this time and time again, and you're waiting for that light at the end of the tunnel. You're waiting for something to come out and just wipe away and do away with all like the system that we currently have in place. And I'm just waiting for that. I don't know if we'll get to see that. I hope we do.
Yeah.
In our lifetime.
I hope we do too.
Yeah.
I think it might be when it comes, to a point where we're elderly citizens, maybe.
Possibly.
Because I do see a lot of hope in our generation and younger generations.
Definitely, I see it too.
But a lot of, and it's like they say, old habits die hard. Older people are less susceptible to change. They're very set in their ways.
Right.
And I say that not saying it's absolute. I'm not saying just because your grandmother's a racist, she's going to die a racist. Like,
right.
She might change her mind. You know what I mean? But like, it's important to not give up, and not be divided. If you're a black person and you need that space, take that space, but by all means don't give up, and if you are new to this argument, welcome, and let's do this together. Let's fix this together, because that's the only way it's going to happen, in my opinion.
You have to challenge the antiquated system that's been in place, guys. Like, challenge the norms. We got to create new norms, because this system that's currently in place is corroded. It's not working. It's clearly not fucking working, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Ivar actually he actually pointed out, what's the best way an ally can help? That's a good question.
I think there are several ways. I think it's important at this point in particular to, if you're not a black person, to really listen to what black people are saying, If you are in a platform where you can elevate what they're saying, elevate their voice, by all means do that. Um, you know, I think that's really important to listen. And you know, there's other things you can do as well. You know, obviously donate if you can to different organizations. There's the Minnesota Freedom Fund, the ACLU. I actually pulled up a whole list.
There's so
of,
many. Yeah, I saw that today actually. There's
yeah,
quite a few actually.
the Empowerment Program, National Urban League, My Brother's Keeper, which is one that Obama started.
Yeah, remember that one.
The Innocence Project. There's so many.
Yeah.
Um, you know, people question whether or not signing petitions help or not. You know, sign if you can. It takes like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? But also being vocal. If you can call a politician, call them.
I get
You know,
petitions sent to me
speak
every
out when you
morning.
see an injustice, not just on Twitter either. I think that's
Right.
really important. A lot of people think that, you know, tweeting something, you know, they're participating and that's it. If you are out in public and you see a black person being pulled over, by all means stop and just watch.
Yeah.
Stop and just
And pull
watch
your
and
phone out if
record
you have
it.
to and record it.
Pull your phone out if you have to, record it if you have to. You know, just be there. And if you see, you know, the cop being forceful or anything like that, you know, speak out. It's kind of like a really shitty situation. Like, how do you call the cops on the cops? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, if you can take video and then reach out to like the ACLU or any of these organizations that fight to defend these innocent people, you know, please do, because you know, I've seen a lot of situations that have been diffused just by being present.
Yeah,
the
for
cop
sure.
realizes they're being watched, and they'll back off.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. That is one way you can be an ally, and I think it's more powerful if you are a person of privilege and you are looking out for your brothers and sisters out there, and you're looking out for black people, and you're looking out for people of color, and you know, just making sure they're okay. You know, I'm not saying jump in front of the cop and, you know.
Although some people do that. Yeah, I've seen videos of that. Yeah. Did you see that video that went viral here in New York of she's a black woman, or I think she was Latina, and she was on the ground. The police had her submitted on the ground, and then this black guy just jumped on top of the police officer, and then he got maced and then beaten down. That because of that video, the mayor 2 days later had to tell the police that they no longer have to conduct the whole process of stopping people for not wearing the mask, and we abolished that already here in New York City.
Yeah.
So people,
the cops are definitely abusing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think right now you're going to see a lot more of that. You know, which, you know, it becomes an issue of, you know, safety and stuff like that. Like me physically, I wouldn't do that. I am 115 pounds wet. You know, I'm not you know, I used to be that person when I was younger, and you know, trying to intervene and break up fights, and I got like beat up in the process. So I learned through experience that I am not one to diffuse situations like that, but I will pull out my phone. I've done it before. Pull out my phone and just stand there and watch and make sure that you know, someone is okay when they're being pulled over or questioned by the cops.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a very powerful gesture you can do to help.
And know your rights, people. A lot of people are so in the dark about simple things. Like I was telling my uncle, but granted, my uncle's also from a different generation. But I told him, like, you know, you can pull your phone out, right? If the police are doing something that you feel is unlawful. And he was like, really? I can just. He really said that to me. He was like in shock. He's like, I can pull my phone out and record them. Isn't that illegal? I said, no, you have the right to do that.
Yeah.
And it blew his mind. Some people just don't know these things.
It's
Simple
true,
things like this.
You know, it's with technology, things are evolving so quickly. It's kind of hard to keep up at times, so I get it. But you know, those are just things. And you know, if you see injustices, please speak out. Like, especially in person. it definitely helps on Twitter and on social media and stuff like that. Um, I think it's more impactful when it's someone you know. If they're being racist, if they're saying things that align, check them, put them in their place.
For sure.
Do not allow this kind of dialogue and behavior to continue.
Absolutely.
No matter if they are a good friend, they will at least listen to what you have to say. Hopefully change your mind, but
Absolutely.
you can't force people to think a certain way. They have to go through that themselves.
No, I'm in a very interesting group chat with I would say a majority of them are Republican, and I'm in there with Mysterio, and it's always just this interesting discourse. And sometimes I don't always agree with them, but at least we listen to each other, like you said.
Right.
And it's a step in the right direction. We're listening to each other, and we're exchanging ideas, and information. Don't always agree eye to eye. We don't see eye to eye on everything, but it's healthy. At least it's healthy.
Definitely. Yeah. I know people who are still registered Republicans, and the whole idea of being a fiscal conservative and all that stuff. Like, that's their right to do so. Do I agree with it? Fuck no. Just because I've worked in social services and I understand its importance, but I can understand where someone who is never been in that circle could see why it's not necessary for them in particular.
Yeah.
So, I always think it's important to hear all sides. But that doesn't mean you should excuse any racism, any bigotry, any xenophobia,
no, I agree.
Xenophobia or anything like that.
I agree.
And I think it's really important now more than ever to speak out.
Absolutely.
And let people know this is not okay. It's 2020, and
yeah, we should not be in these situations in 2020.
Right,
guys.
Right. Enough is enough.
It's absolutely. But guys, listen, I think we're gonna wrap up here. I want to thank Males again for partaking in this, and again for being brave enough to answer the call when I hit her up last minute. I said, let's do this.
I feel kind of like, because I am an Afro-Latina. My dad's Jamaican, my mom's Panamanian. But even I myself have privileges, that some of my friends don't. So even I'm like, am I the right person to even speak out about this? But I felt it was important, to say something at least.
Absolutely. I really, really do admire the fact that you came on here and spoken it on a public forum.
For even providing a platform to have these kind of discussions, I think these are the kind of dialogues we need to have.
Absolutely.
Forward, I wish more people were open to these kind of conversations. I forget where it was. I saw this library where you could rent a person, which sounds so weird. It's just saying that, but it was like you had the opportunity to, talk to someone for an hour from a walk of life that you maybe have not been exposed to before. And through that whole program, so say it was someone from the LGBTQ community, you could rent an hour to talk to them at the library.
Wow.
And just ask them any questions and have that kind of dialogue. And I think through conversations like that, it's how we're going to move forward, because, I think, I honestly believe that racism is systemic, but also there's a lot of fear and a lot of unknown entities involved. Like if we took the time to just sit down and talk to one another, we would realize that we have a lot more in common than we realize.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really challenging, at least for the next couple of weeks, if not longer.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how these things play out. But again, like it's like an amalgamation of all these different aspects of what's happening in society right now.
Yeah.
Even on a global scale, like not just America, but if we just center in on America, we have a lot of work to do in this country.
We do, and you talk to people from other countries, they'll be really quick to tell you that we have a lot of broken systems. And someone asked, someone in my Discord was like, I can't believe all this rioting and protesting is happening. And I was like, in my opinion, this is long overdue.
Yeah.
In other countries like France in particular, like you raise the taxes, people are protesting.
This happens all the
streets,
time in Europe. Yeah.
And I think here, for far too long, we've felt that we didn't have a voice, and we became complicit.
Yes.
And I think people are seeing now that we do have a lot more power than we realize when we unite and work together.
Absolutely.
And speak up together. So I'm hopeful that it'll change. Like I said earlier, I don't think it'll be with this administration, but I think if we can keep that in mind moving forward, we can make a lot of changes for the better.
We're due for another revolution, and
Definitely.
It's possible.
Has been pretty.
No.
No.
But they've all been important. They've all been important and have created change,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm all for it, man.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
If we need to revolt, then we need to revolt.
Yeah.
But on that note, guys, we bid you a farewell. Thank you guys,
so
for sticking
much.
around and asking questions and just taking part of the dialogue. And yeah, again, question everything and stay informed. Okay,
Absolutely.
educate yourselves. You have the time now for the most part. Let's.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And
Thank you, Malas.
Take care and be safe out there, please.
Peace, guys. Love.
Love.